One of the interesting technologies for music production are the delay lines, and Tukan Studios designed a JS plugin that we have available inside Reaper completely for free that I really want to share with you. It's so versatile, so flexible, and this is not a walkthrough of the plugin because John already has a video on it, and I'll link it in the description, but I'm going to show you some ideas on how you might want to use delays when you're trying to do something within a mix or something where you're trying to set up a sound for an instrument. I will be using the same sound example that I used for the video before. Let me remind you which one it was. Okay, so let me lower the volume of the rest of the tracks and let's stick with this guitar up front, right? I'm only using plugins from Tukan Studios, like the Orange EQ that works great for most situations. The guitar amp, he also released recently the guitar station. I can also make a video on that. Let me know in the comments if you want me to make a video on that. It's a cabinet simulation with pedals that you can switch positions with different microphones, different amps, and it's like a great thing to just have built into Reaper. And at the end, I'm using the delay line. So I'm going to duplicate this plugin and let's stick only with this as a very clean version of it, so I can tweak it and I won't lose what I already have. By delay lines, what I mean is that you have two ways to generate delays, that they can go stereo, both of them, or they can go left and they can go right, and you can go whatever side you want. So for example, if I lower the second delay line, I will only have one guitar being input on the left side that should go on the dry channel, on the dry part of the plugin on the left side, and then I have the repetitions on the right side. Let me show you. And this helps a lot with the idea of how to make a ping pong delay or how you can make a cross delay if you want to. For example, I can make one delay line to go all the way to the left and to be panned out to the left on the output, and I can have the second one go into the right side. And now I have a ping pong delay. But the way the rhythm accompanies it, the way the rhythm feels this feel to be to be a little bit way too insistent on the same idea, is if I want to push the feeling of the 8th notes or the 16th notes of a groove, I can make these delays a little bit softer and go through the 16th notes, and that's like a nice idea, like a rhythmic way to increase that feel, and you don't have to be playing 16th notes, like you can just let the delay take charge of the 16th spaces and you can just hit the right moments. In the end, you could also like just make it a little bit narrower on the output, so it doesn't feel so much like an effect and more like a part of the way you're playing instead of making it like ultra wide in a mix. And please remember that if you're making everything ultra wide, then nothing is mono and nothing is ultra wide. You need some things to be narrower at the center so that you can actually listen to the things that are on the side. This ITG stand for time gap. I don't remember what the I means, but it's time gap. So it's like an offset for the delay to start. You can have it linked or unlinked with this switch over here. I don't have it linked, so it actually pushes one of the delays on the other side. Otherwise, they will be synced up within time, but I want them to be with a small offset. And it really works. The other idea that you might want to use for delays, this kind of plugin, is you always, and you will keep listening me say and talk about these things, you need filters built into most plugins right now. Like we really need them. I'm not sure, and John, if you're watching this, I'd love to hear your input on it. I'm not sure if these filters would work best if you could have them moved over before the delay gets generated, and you could choose where you want them placed. Like, that's an interesting update. That's a request by me, but that's only me. I would like to be able to move these filters from to the beginning of the line and not being only and not only filtering what comes out of it. Like, it's just a different sound. I know it can be like totally unnecessary, but it's just an idea. And you have a small drive section that brings something interesting to it. Actually, I tested making it a crush instead of a drive, and it also gives you a different feel. So maybe you want one delay line to have only a drive and the other one just a crush, and not push them as hard as you would with other softer effects. Have fun with the feedback. Like, just I want to really push this idea that we could be thinking about delays more of a rhythmic feel to them and not just like a gap filler. I really like this knob right here where you can see tempo or time, so I know where the repetitions are. And this part of the left, I don't remember if it's explained on Tukan's videos, but I think it is. But what you can do is, instead of having to mess around with these knobs trying to figure out what's the correct position of it, like if you loosen up the sync of this and you're trying to do this, you can get it like a little bit behind, a little bit ahead, and that's really good. Like, that's a really good feature. But sometimes you just want like a really spot on delay so it fades out with the tempo of the song, and that works great for it. Remember, you're looking at 16th subdivision right here, so you can make repetitions every 16th note, every 8th note, every 4th note, and so forth. So maybe you want one delay line to go every 8th note, and you want this one to go every 16th note. And then you might want to add some offset, and you might want to add some feedback, so it starts later and it ends later. And you could even try like cross-feeding a little bit of the right channel into the left channel. And that also works. Remember that doing this kind of thing, like crossfeeding means like leaking the right channel into the left channel and left into right channel. That comes from the tape idea where the channels actually were touching each other. So it was common for one channel to bleed into the other, like to crossfeed. That's what it means. So in headphones, that helps us listen to the delays and space so much more realistic, if that makes any sense. Like, everyone should be aware of that headphones aren't a really stereo playback system. So doing a little bit of crossfeed really helps the feeling in headphones. Most people are listening to music right now in headphones, so that could be a thing to consider. And remember that you can keep on pushing these ideas, like combining, for example, the chorus that I showed you the last time on the last video with the delays. You could add some chorus right after the delays and make a sound like this. And that's when we really start to making some fun sounds, honestly. And if we push that idea a little bit further, check out Sphinx, also by Tukan Studios, and the Violet Envelope Shaper. So for example, something like a guitar that's like this peaky sound to it, you might want to even emphasize sometimes before you hit the amp with something like an envelope shaper with a transient control envelope shaper kind of plugin, where you're actually exaggerating a lot more the attack of the sound, or making it shorter if it's not played just as you want it, or just want to make some sort of effect. I'll turn off choric so it's easier to listen. And as you can listen, adding release is more or less like adding sustain to it. So maybe if you have like a really harsh attack to it, you can lower it a little bit, and then you can push the release a little bit longer, and you can really shape the tone of things like this. For example, toms benefit a lot from this kind of work when they aren't really in their best shape, so you can really mangle around what they could be sounding like. So after you get a sound that you like, I'm going to turn again choric on, but without the pitch. And maybe you have like this really nasal tone to it, or you want to remove a little bit of the string part of the sound that maybe you don't really like that part of the sound. You can use the Sphinx for this, because you can remove a little bit of that nasal sound. That's usually around 700 to 1.5 kilohertz. Remember that if you right click and hit the delta sol option, you can listen only to what the plugin is doing. So you can listen to the noise that you're removing when you're trying to look for it. Because first you might want to listen to the sound, like you want to identify it. And once you have it in your head, you can go look for it in like a delta mode using the option and left click, or the Alt key on Windows and left click. Lucky for us, Tukan Studios already has this listen feature built in. And I'm going to turn on the rest of the chain again. There are a lot of plugins from Tukan Studios that maybe you don't know about. I highly suggest that you look into them. You can just go into the RIA pack, browse packages, and look for Tukan Studios, and you can download them. There's also a way to import them, so I'll link that video also in the description. But check them out. He has released a lot of plugins that are extremely useful for our daily work. Be sure to check some of the things that Tukan is doing. Go subscribe to his channel as well. He's updating constantly the plugins. He's doing an amazing work, and I felt like sharing what I have been using from his plugins. If you like this kind of video, hit subscribe, share, comment, and all of those things that people on YouTube say. And straight from Mexico City, my name is Juanchis, and thanks for listening.